Let's talk about how we can evaluate negative exponents, whether that be with an integer base or a fraction as the base. So you got taken through a process which shows you two things. First one is, well, what is 2 to the power of 0? And the answer is 1. A lot of people are like, it can't be. But if we follow a pattern, I'll explain it to you. 2 to the power of 1 we know is 2. 2 to the power of 2 is 2 to the power of 3 is 8. Now, I'm going to write it slightly differently, which is, how do we go up? What happens when I add 1 to the exponent? Yes. Okay. So for those of you that like the higher level communication type stuff, if I wrote to you as 2 to the power of k plus 1, you could write that as 2 to the power of k times 2. Make sense?
Yeah.
I'm glad that makes sense, because for a lot of people, even when they get higher up, don't get the plus 1 notation. It just means add 1 to that number, right? Those people that are ignoring me, you probably won't get that. It's much more important that you can just type in your calculator. It's not at all. This is the important bit, right? When we go up a power, we times by 2. But 2 to the power of k minus 1, that means the one before, is what?
Divided by 2.
Divide by 2. Excuse me for writing it inappropriately like that rather than as a fraction, but that's kind of what I'm trying to get to. I want that bit. So when we go up, we times by 2. When we come back down this list, we divide by 2. Therefore, if we follow that pattern, 2 divided by 2 is 1. That leads us to another conclusion, which is, surely, like 4 to the power of 1 is 4, 5 to the power of 1 is 4 to the power of 0. Well, we have to divide by 4, so that's 1. 5 to the power of 0 is 1, because you divide by... So that leads us to the conclusion that x to the power of 0 is 1. Any number to the power of 0 is 1. And we can show that, we can prove it algebraically in the way that I've just been doing it, which is x to the power of 1 is x. Then we've got x to the power of 2 is x times x, and so on. So when we go back down, we're obviously doing x divided by x gives me 1. So I've shown that it doesn't matter what x is. X can be any base. 1 to the power of 0 is? There is only one integer that's a problem. 0. 0 to the power of 0. Why is that a problem? Because 0 to the power of 1 is 0. 0 to the power of 2 is 0 to the power of 0 is... Right, there's the problem, isn't it? We can go up by multiplying by 0, but if we come down, 0 divided by 0, it's...
Maybe you should divide by divided by.
You can't divide by 2. No. 0 divided by 0, we would write... We'd write undefined. One for you to look up if you're interested. Now, that's covered one thing. Did we get that then? Blair, what did we just find out? Oh, yeah. She's working solidly away. She's ignoring me. You've got something to do. Well, there's a few of you are doing the same thing. But I've just made a point that the important bit has not been gained. The knowledge hasn't been gained because you are busy working. You feel good because you're writing stuff and your book looks amazing. It looks neat. I've highlighted some stuff. There's a little flower drawn in the corner. It's amazing. I don't know what it's about, but it looks amazing. This is the important stage. Right? The next stage you see is what happens when we continue the power. So we've just figured out that, well, continue the pattern, sorry. We've figured out that anything to the power of 0 is 1. And we figured out that when we carry on down the pattern, we carry on dividing by whatever the base is. So 2 to the power of, well, 1, 0, negative 1 is going to be, well, I'm just going to write 1 divided by 2. I said work in fractions. There is a reason for this. Exactly. As Haley just pointed out, the pattern is easier to see. If I do 2 to the power of negative 2, it's a half divided by 2. So what's a half of a half?
1/4.
1/4. Or 1 over 1 divided by 2 squared. 2 to the power of negative 3 is 1 divided by 8, or 1 divided by 2 cubed. Okay. This leads us to maybe our second piece of knowledge here. The conclusion could be, well, if I have a negative exponent, I can actually replace a negative exponent with 1 divided by. Negative there, 1 divided by, and then we just write the base and the exponent as normal. Well, I'm not, because no one asked you to use them. So, following on, verifying that information, we would say, well, let's come up with another example. If that's what I think my rule is, let's do 5 to the power of negative 4. Following on from that pattern, I've got a negative. I think I should have a 1 over, and then I just write 5 to the power of 4. Okay? We could calculate that is, what is 5 to the power of 4?
6.
Okay?
Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
If on my calculator I do 5 to the power of negative 4, do I verify those two are the same?
Yep.
Okay. So that's the conclusion hopefully you were coming to, which is a negative exponent does not give you a negative answer, which is what a lot of people do. It's a fact, is it?
Just
I have to rearrange my room again. Sorry, Goofy. Well, as I say, you're not noticing. I have to make the best use of my space for all your things. Some of you are looking at me going, I have no idea what you're getting at. But Max and Abut are looking at me going, alright. Stage is, what about fractions? So let's do 1/2 to the power of 2. What is it? What is 1/5 to the power of 3? It's 1.
Yeah, it's 1/5 divided by 1.
What is
1 times 4. That's why is it not 1 over?
Okay, here's an answer. The question was, why is it not 1 over 4? Why does the negative sign not make it 1 over? Well, that was my way of explaining it before, but the difference is I've already got 1 over half, 1 over 2. So let's just have a look. Before I said the negative would make it, so if I did 1 half to the negative 2, I said to you that the negative would make it a 1 over. And then we would write a half to the power of 2. Yeah? Okay, well, let's see. Is that the same as 4?
Yeah. Wait.
Okay, well, let's go through the process. So it's 1 divided by, well, a half squared is 1 over 4.
It's negative 4.
Negative 4? What? There's no negative 4. Yeah?
So since if I have 0,
Are you changing my, like, are we on this or are you on something else? No, no. We'll finish this and then if you've got your question. Then. Okay. The question is 1, are you happy with this is that? Using the pattern from before? Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is then, is this the same as this? It should be.
yeah,
How can I show it is? Aaron?
because 1 is 4 times 1, 1 4.
So if you split 1 into quarters, how many of them do you have? So 1 shared with, like, into quarters
Basically 1 over
is 4. Now, some of you may well remember your fraction work, which is 1 divided by 1 quarter. You do 1 multiplied by the reciprocal. Remember that from your M1 days?
Also,
Totally. Pre-required knowledge, which is 4. Just for interest, yes, these will be on a test. Yeah, we'll read it. All of it. No. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, I haven't quite finished and it's almost time to go. So, hopefully from this lesson, you now know that anything to the power of 0 is 1. A negative exponent means dividing. That's a good way of putting it. Wait for you to back up from start looking up. All right. Make sure I've got Champions League games to go and watch soon. I don't wait around here. First time in like 6 years. Right. So I want you to review this. Hopefully understand it. Next time I see you, you will be able to get on with the work I'm going to give you. If there's anything that you need to discuss and couldn't figure out for yourself, you can come and ask on a one-to-one or something in the lessons. Okay? The video will be up for you to watch.